Hello everyone. So Laura's going to be going soon.
I am going home. Yeah,
but
I've got to go home.
But before you go home, we wanted to do one last video that wasn't Cassandra Clare related.
I know,
It's
been like a Cassandra Clare love fest,
yes.
essentially.
Yes, it has. Yes.
Yeah.
So we wanted to talk about something a bit different, and because we have kind of been sat watching soaps all morning, and we watched a program, like a 3-hour program about soap operas yesterday.
Yeah.
We thought, let's talk about soap operas.
Because we grew up on soap operas, really.
Yeah, we still love soap operas.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Because which soap operas do you watch?
I watch Emmerdale on the regular, and I dip in and out of Corrie. I watch a little bit of Hollyoaks, not a whole lot of Hollyoaks, but I kind of still know what's going on. And Eastenders, I've just sort of re-picked up.
Cool.
Like last week.
Yay!
A thing.
I think that's happened, but we'll talk about that. So with me, I regularly watch EastEnders and from Australia, Neighbours, and I listen to The Archers on.
I kind of abandoned The Archers, I must admit.
Oh well, but you have that, don't you, with phases of things and you go in and out. Because because we used to watch EastEnders every week when we were younger, and then it just kind of fizzled out for me.
EastEnders in the 90s was so good.
I know, so good.
EastEnders of the late 90s and early 2000s was like a golden period.
It was the golden age.
It was
for EastEnders.
awesome.
And so yeah, we used to watch it every week, and then I phased out, and then because you were watching it because you've really loved the Carters.
Yes, I did.
What was going on with the Lucy Beale storyline, which we'll talk about in a bit. That you said you have to get back into it, and it happened that the week that I started was the week that it was their live episodes, because they had the big celebration because it was a certain anniversary for them. It was their 30th, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
And it was the big reveal of who killed Lucy, which had been going on for over a year at that point.
Yeah, it had. Yeah.
So they combined them together, and that was the week that I started watching it.
Yeah.
So it was a bit jarring for me because I was trying to figure out who people were. Plus, because it's live, obviously some things go wrong, and some people. Because there was one point, one person called it was meant to refer to the character's name and called the actor's name and stuff like that. So I was like, wait, wasn't he?
It was so, I felt so sorry for the actress because she said, "Where's Adam?"
She froze.
She froze.
You could see her eyes bulged out
10
of her head.
seconds, and then the actress she was acting opposite said, "Ian is in the kitchen."
Yeah.
And it was they just kept going because they're professional actors.
Do you know what really annoyed me? People reacted to things that went wrong, but they were like, things that went wrong, in that car window you can see the cameraman. It's live!
I must say, I reckon as a soap actor, doing a live episode must be absolutely terrifying.
To have a week of them.
No, it was only one. But it was a long one.
I thought they did it for a week.
No.
Sorry,
they had a week of episodes, and then the Friday episode was live.
Sorry, I was thinking it was a week of live episodes.
For people that are used to literally just being able to make mistakes and go, okay, or keep going, and then they'll edit it out.
Yeah. It's kind of like being back at theatre in a sense.
To essentially do theatre without an audience.
Yeah.
Must be absolutely terrifying.
And because of set layouts, because the actors were saying literally they would walk out of shot, they'd have to run to like one of those golf carts, get driven round the side of the set and be on cue for in 30 seconds time. You know, that kind of thing.
But it must have taken so much work to figure out how to get everybody where they needed to be.
And they did it.
And they did a massive stunt at the end of it as well.
A massive stunt, yeah.
And no, because they've done two.
They've done two, yeah, because there was the one, I think, was their 25th, maybe? Yes, because that was Stacey
and Bradley's death.
Well, yeah, Bradley's death, not Stacey's death. Which was the big stunt. Yeah. And the 30th was the reveal of Lucy's killer.
Yeah. Which was great. It was such an amazing storyline because I'd been watching it.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Lucy Beale thing now.
Let's talk about Lucy Beale.
So Lucy Beale.
I'm going to take this down, sorry.
As a teenager, Lucy Beale was a complete whirlwind, wasn't she? She was quite
She was.
Quite a gobby girl. She would take, film people and try to blackmail them.
She wasn't a nice,
she wasn't a nice girl.
Person.
And she got into serious fights. She got involved in drugs and stuff like this. And then she kind of had this kind of epiphany, and she, in regards to what was going on in her life.
Mm.
And it was at that moment that she died.
Yeah.
And it was very clever because the way that they did it was a little girl found her body in the woods.
Yeah.
You didn't see the actual killing. You didn't, nothing. It was just literally her body turned up in the woods. And then it was just a case of, okay, let's put the pieces
family
together.
Yeah.
And the way the actors, the scene where Ian identifies Lucy, and the scene where he tells Lucy's twin brother Peter that she's dead, are two of the most amazing scenes.
Played by Ben Hardy.
Ben Hardy,
back in the day when he was...
Before Bohemian Rhapsody and The Woman in White.
And he was completely used as a boy toy, kind of... It's kind of uncomfortable now thinking back on it. They used to get Peter to be half naked for no reason, and it's kind of like we were talking about Taylor Lautner in Twilight, who was only a boy really.
The new boy that's kind of taken that is the character Keanu. Who is, because he's been having an affair with Sharon for forever and a day now, and it's like. But then they're kind of on again, off again, and then they kind of completely pulled apart from each other. So he started screwing Sharon's stepdaughter Louise, and she's now pregnant. So yeah, get your head around that.
That's icky.
I know, but the Lucy Beale storyline was like EastEnders back in the 90s.
God, the
where
years.
they took their time with the storyline, and they placed little things in the perfect spots, and then they brought it all together. And when it was revealed who the killer was, it was no one that was even a suspect.
Well, I was working that Thursday, and I had to wait, and I literally ran home. I ran home to watch it.
Yeah.
And then the big twist,
the massive
twist was that
Should we just say what it is? Let's
Kathy
say what
came home.
This is going to be full of spoilers.
Yeah, and it's a soap.
Yeah.
It's a soap. But Kathy was Phil Mitchell's wife, who apparently died in South Africa.
Yeah.
15 years previously. Yeah. But as it turned out, did not die. Yeah. Was not dead.
Because I was it's a soap rule. If you don't see the body, they are not dead.
No body, no death.
Regardless.
No.
It just doesn't happen.
But I loved
the big reveal
in the 90s.
That it was Lucy's little brother, Bobby, who's out of prison this summer. Has been serving 5 years in prison. Had killed her with the music box. Yeah. That was brilliant. And they even did, there was the National Television Awards. And whoever was hosting, I can't remember, I think it might have been Dermot O'Leary, he said, EastEnders have allowed us to provide a little clue as to the Lucy's killer. And they played the music from the music box. And it was it was just they did these little tiny things, and it was remember back in the 90s, the massive Who Shot Phil storyline in EastEnders.
That was good.
Huge. That made front page newspapers on multiple days. Just
it was so
one day
good.
Trying to figure out
That's
who
the thing
did it.
About soap though is that it's the investment that the audience has in it.
Yes.
I'm a massive fan of Emmerdale. Yeah. Partly because of Robert and Aaron, who I love, Rob Ron, my soap husbands, but partly because long-form storytelling lends itself so beautifully to an audience knowing these people and going on journeys with them.
It does.
Even if that journey is love to hate. Yeah. You have soap villains who do awful things to people.
Yeah.
And yet you want to watch them because the actor is so compelling, because the writing is so compelling.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times when soaps get it way wrong.
Oh, completely.
Like, totally. I mean,
catastrophic. EastEnders did a really bad thing.
They made a massively terrible judgment call.
In 2011.
11? Yeah, because Beth was a newborn.
Oh, of course it was, yeah. In 2011, they decided to do a cot death storyline.
Yeah.
Emmerdale had done one a couple of years before and did it
very well.
Perfection. Yeah. Really fantastically done. However, EastEnders decided to take a twist on it, where Ronnie lost her baby to cot death, and rather than going to get help because she was alone in her flat, she sits on the sofa very calmly, doesn't call for help or anything, and then decides to swap her dead baby with Kat's baby, who was born like within the same week.
Yeah.
Swap the babies and carry this live baby home and pretend that it's hers. And it had the highest number of complaints ever in EastEnders history. It had 14,000 complaints.
Samantha Womack, the poor actress that played her,
she took a lot of stick
had
for that.
Had to take time off because it was so stressful to play.
Yeah.
And I mean, I did not want to watch it when it aired because I had a newborn.
Yeah.
And it sounds so weird, but I didn't want that energy in my house.
No, it's not weird. It's not weird because it's the thing that you welcome these characters into your house each day or each weekend or whatever, whenever you watch it.
Yeah.
You are actually welcoming them into your house. Yeah. And if they're bringing a negative energy, you don't want them there.
Yeah. And I think it was because I had a newborn, and it was that kind of thing. Is the problem is that cot death was used as a tool for the storyline rather than being the storyline.
Yeah.
And, you had Kat absolutely devastated because she thought that her child Tommy had died.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Ronnie's going around with Tommy.
Little Tommy.
Who she's calling James, was his name, wasn't it?
James, yeah.
And it was so messed up for so many reasons. I mean, that in itself is messed up. But then when you look at it logically, babies don't look like each other.
Yeah.
Why? And,
it's interesting. It's interesting because I remember Kat was saying, "That's not my baby. He doesn't look like my baby."
Yeah.
And they were thinking, well, because it's a dead baby rather than a live baby, that makes a difference. And Kat is just going through turmoil.
Yeah.
So what she's saying doesn't make any sense.
But
and it's like
Jack and Alfie, the fathers of these two babies, neither of them were like, "That's not our baby."
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. It was such an illogical thing, and I don't know why the senior people at the BBC or the executives were like, "Are you seriously playing with possibly?" Well, it is the worst thing that can happen to a parent is the loss of their baby.
With Emmerdale, the way they approached it was that obviously it's a thing and we wanted to do it, but they were very, very, very respectful to it. It is so hard to watch. I don't watch Emmerdale, but I've seen that clip and I find it really emotional.
Yeah.
And I don't have children. I don't, and the thought of possibly doing that and watching that if you have children.
Laurel. Brought her A game.
Oh,
she was so good in
and
that
the actor who played Ashley as well. Her Ashley and Laurel are the couple who lost their child. But yeah, I mean, because on this program because it was Soap's most controversial storylines, he was saying, and he started crying talking about it, saying how the baby was a dead weight, and how he held it and he started crying. He could not help it, and I like the fact that. It's a very shut off thing. It's just them in that one room.
What they were exploring was the bleeding of that death into the rest of the family and thus into the rest of the village.
Yeah.
Because I think that led to that's right. Ashley and Laurel lost Daniel. Laurel,
She had
they split up.
they split up.
She became an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And she got with Marlon, and he thought he could help her, and he couldn't help her.
No.
She got clean
she
and
did.
sober, and then
she
got
had
back together with Ashley and had a
daughter,
Dot, called Dottie.
Dottie, that was
Dottie,
it. I remember
who
that.
is just the cutest little girl.
Yeah.
She's such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
But which then led to Ashley's dementia storyline, which again they did beautifully.
It is very interesting. That's we were saying about where do you draw the line of actually doing a storyline that will help people versus finding a story that exploits them.
Yeah.
It's a very fine line, and EastEnders completely fell over it.
They
and
really
I think
did.
because of the reaction, that's why they tied it up very quickly. Because I think Ronnie came round to confessing.
She did
not long after.
I think because it was New Year's Eve when it happened. I think it was like a really short window.
It wasn't very long at all
because the backlash was so. It probably would have been
because when you see her swap the baby's proper like newborn, and when she hands it over to Kat, I'd say it's probably a couple of weeks or maybe 3 later or so. It looks like an older baby, but not a tiny newborn baby. If you think
I know that they film something like 6 weeks ahead,
right?
So if that went out on New Year's Eve, because it's a New Year's Eve, so they would have been. When the storyline was revealed, they would have been filming for, say, March.
Yeah.
So when that happened, so if you think it was probably May, so it was in 4 months, which would explain the baby growing.
Yeah.
So in those 4 months, EastEnders had it on all sides. People saying we have got to you cannot do this. So the resolution of the story was essentially Ronnie cracking and confessing and giving Tommy back to Kat and Alfie.
And she got arrested for
she
what
did.
she did.
The thing that I loved about the resolution of that storyline was Kat's forgiveness of Ronnie. Yeah. Because she said the judge, I think she actually pled guilty, didn't she?
I think she did.
She just pled guilty.
She didn't have a full trial.
No.
She just went to prison for like 5 years
and
or something.
The judge said that she was going to be sent down for however long and that she needed serious psychological help. Yeah. And Kat said, no, this is wrong. She lost her baby. She's already being punished. And the judge said, she's broken the law. She's going to prison. Yeah. And Kat put her hand on the glass that Ronnie was standing in, and Ronnie put her hand in. She said, Ronnie, I forgive you, because she understood the kind of pain that Ronnie was in. Yeah. And I loved that moment. I thought that was very, very nicely done.
So EastEnders, in a sense, got something right with that storyline, but it's one moment in a 4-month saga.
Yeah, it was just so depressing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's difficult to watch. Definitely.
It is very difficult to watch, but they overstepped, and I think they learned lessons from that.
If you think about it, also with various soap operas, they kind of do have their own separate audiences at the same time, and they cater their storylines for that. So Coronation Street and Emmerdale, even though you do have a wide range of ages watch it, it tends to be kind of a bit more of an older audience, you would say.
It's certainly
a more comfortable,
conservative audience.
Yes. EastEnders is quite a large range, but I'd say it's kind of plays middle of the road in a sense. But
EastEnders is quite a violent.
It is quite it's
place.
Quite violent place. I will admit that. But when you compare it to something like Hollyoaks, where it is young adults is the key audience.
But the thing with Hollyoaks is that it has done very, very hard-hitting storylines, but it is the demographic that watches Hollyoaks is students, is kids in their early 20s. It caters for them.
If you compare, like if you take Hollyoaks, I see that as a bright, shining, bubbly, bright lights, fireworks kind of thing, and EastEnders is a bit more darker, bit sinister, kind of, you feel a bit, kind of have to look over your shoulder. And Emmerdale is the green lands, and Coronation Street is kind of similar as well.
Emmerdale doesn't do really...
But no, they do hard-hitting story, and when they do them right, but they don't do them bang, 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 bang. Hollyoaks does them bang, 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 and EastEnders, lately, it's Christmas is their big bang.
It is.
And they'll have sort of little bangs through the year, depending on what's going on.
I watched it at Christmas simply because EastEnders on Christmas Day is a must.
It's seminal. You have to do it.
You have to do it.
It's the hour-long special.
If nothing else, you think your Christmas Day was bad. Let's go to Christmas at the Slaters.
There's always, there's in EastEnders, if at least one Christmas dinner laid out on table doesn't get uplifted, it's been a bad Christmas.
It has.
It's been a boring Christmas.
It has. Although they do nice Christmases. Do you remember that Christmas that Cat and Alfie got married at the Vic and he got a snow machine?
Yeah, but
it's rare.
It's
rare.
Very rare. It's very, very rare. It's kind of like with soap weddings, when they were saying like the only soap wedding where something actually goes right was the one back in the 80s in Neighbours with Kylie and Jason.
Rob Ron, 5th of October 2018, went really well.
I said what they said on the programme. What they said on the programme. Thank you very much. But yeah, so it tends to be that it's EastEnders, the Christmas and New Year is absolutely seminal. And sometimes, though, that they have done of late where you can have a kind of a boring Christmas at EastEnders and they go, oh, what's going on? And then suddenly New Year, they will rip the rug out from under you. And they did that perfectly with the death of Ronnie and Roxy it was what, 3 years ago? 3 years ago.
3 years ago?
Yeah, 3 years ago. It was New Year. It was New Year. It was literally the countdown to 12 o'clock hit, and you saw their bodies. And you know, because what happened was that Ronnie was marrying Jack for a second time. The families were all happy, but her sister Roxy, they've had lots of issues. It would take like a year to explain all of their issues. Roxy had a drug problem, but she was managing to control it, but that she was, as soon as she got into a private space, she was snorting cocaine and stuff like that. And they were just having a good time. And they decided to go to the hotel pool where the wedding took place, in this absolutely glorious hotel. And Roxy stripped off her outer dress, her black outer dress, show her black, nice little outfit so underneath. And she said, last one in the pool pays for breakfast. And she jumps in. And Ronnie's laughing. She's going, oh, right, I'm in my dress, and then she realises that Roxy's at the bottom of the pool, and she thinks that Roxy's playing, and she's screaming for her, Roxy, come on. And then she realises Roxy's not playing. Roxy has actually had a heart attack hitting the water because of the drugs in her system. The alcohol, the drugs, and the shock of the water has caused her to have a heart attack. And Ronnie dives in her wedding dress, and she's trying to get to Roxy, and her dress gets caught in the vent, and it just pulls her down. And while that is playing, you see her death quite graphically. There's a voiceover of Jack reading Cinderella to their children as he's putting them to bed. And he says, and the clock struck 12, and the carriage turned back into a pumpkin, and you see her body just last reach, and then she just stops. And it ends with a shot of Jack with their children on the bed at midnight, and then it goes to the pool, and it's just this probably 1 or 2 minute sequence of it just slowly going, like the discarded bottle of champagne, the shoe, and it goes to their bodies in the pool, and you see a necklace fall off Ronnie into the bottom of the pool, and that necklace is so important. That is a necklace with the picture of Danielle in it. The daughter. The daughter that she lost when she was a teenager. And it was stunning. It was one of the most stunning things I've seen EastEnders produce.
I think it was
that year.
It felt very, I said to you, it felt very Dickensian somehow, like a full circle. They came in together, they left together.
Kind of, because the way their bodies were positioned, it was like their heads were near each other and their arms, because Ronnie was trying to pull her up and their arms around each other. But they're just in that completely
Yeah, it's like
death stare. It's
they were kind of, Ronnie and Roxy, they were kind of like soulmates and sisters. So for them to die together, it was sort of poetically beautiful and tragic, wasn't it?
It was. It really
but
was.
the thing with soaps is that when they don't get it wrong and they do get it right, they can be so instrumental in change in a country's...
Hollyoaks have been ever since probably early to mid 2000s, they've been very much wanting to do a lot of stuff on mental health storylines. And recently, last year, they dedicated an entire month of just doing storylines about mental health, different types of mental health. And with their cast, they are so diverse.
Yes,
with their cast.
they are.
They have got multiple ethnicities, sexualities, disabilities, everything under the sun you can think of. They've got it represented, which is wonderful.
Yeah, and I do like that about Hollywood. It's like at the moment they're doing a storyline where Steve, who is a gay man, is being slowly groomed and corrupted by a white supremacist group.
Yeah. Because the way it started was that his sister died very tragically in a storm that hit Hollyoaks. And the doctor of the area is an Indian woman who's well respected. He's always respected her and everything, and no one has a problem. But then his sister died because she couldn't save her. There was absolutely nothing that she could do.
She was hit by a huge branch.
It was like half the tree fell on her.
Yes,
there was absolutely nothing that she could do. But Steve took his grief and channeled it at her as anger.
Yeah,
and this guy who he met in the pub or something, I think that was how they met, who's part of the white supremacist group, saw him and used that grief.
But I like that they've done that. That they've taken it from a place of he is vulnerable because of X, Y, Z. I mean, he's also just got out of a very long relationship because his would-be husband was cheating on him, and he's had that fallout to deal with as well. But like they've acknowledged the fact that Steve was vulnerable, and that vulnerability is why he is being groomed.
Yeah, and it shows to people it's not just a case of it's since childhood they've had this stuff channeled into their minds. Yeah. It can be something like that, which has caused a trigger, and the trigger has overpowered them.
Yeah.
Which is really great. Yeah, Hollyoaks are very much about making sure that they have this very diverse range of storylines that go on. And there was one that was in this programme about Lily, who has now died in the soap, that she started cutting herself. And she actually, when her friends found out, she convinced them to form a self-harm group, the three of them together. And they had a very a singular episode which won at the British Soap Awards. I think it was called like Three Mothers, Three Daughters or something. And it was the mums finding out and how they then approach their daughters about it, and seeing the self-harm from the point of view of the kids and the point of view of the parents.
That's really powerful.
It won awards for it, and I can understand why, because
it's like
a taboo, it's a taboo subject. People don't talk about it.
It is. It's like Emmerdale did their dementia episode with Ashley, where
wonderful.
What they did is Ashley was diagnosed with early onset
Alzheimer's.
No, it wasn't. It's vascular dementia.
Oh, vascular dementia. Sorry,
which is different.
Yeah.
And they went through the process. Him and Laurel, and he started to forget things, and they did this incredible thing where it's literally the whole episode was Ashley wanted to go and see his mother's grave.
Yes.
And so he left the village. And he went to Houghton, which is probably a 10-minute drive from Emmerdale Village.
Yeah.
And he got out of the car, and a man stops the car and winds the window down, and he goes, "Ashley, what are you doing here?" And this is someone that we, as an audience, don't recognise.
Yeah, because they did completely different cast members.
They did. What they did was they cast actors that looked a little bit like the actors we know as...
and dressed them in their usual outfits, but
yeah,
as a viewer, you had absolutely no idea who
yeah,
they were.
who they were. Yeah. So the man that stopped was Doug, who was his father-in-law,
Yeah.
and he's like, I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are, and it kind of that paranoia of why are all these people talking to me? How did they know my name?
But they did things like suddenly his jacket would change or something, and he went into a music shop, and he thought that there was, because he saw vintage posters for concerts, he thought they were actually happening then, and he wanted to buy tickets.
He did, and he went and he bought a CD. And he took out money from his pocket, and instead of it being coins, it was pieces of metal.
Yeah, just
because he couldn't recognise the
pieces
coins.
of metal, plain discs.
Yeah,
and he had absolutely no idea what they were, what they meant.
And he was walking back because he'd forgotten where his car was.
Yeah.
And a man pulls up and he's like, "Hello, Ashley, you all right?" And he goes, "Yes, I'm just going home." We said, "Well, we'll get in the car." He says, "Well, I don't know you." I said, "Well, but I know you, Ashley. I know you."
Yeah,
and he notices like the bag with the CD. And he says, "Oh, what CD have you got?" And he starts talking to him about the music and everything. And they did this amazing thing where
they got to the pub.
We saw the reflection of the man, and it was Aaron, who we know and we trust, and we know he knows Ashley. So we as the audience were sort of assured that Ashley was safe.
Right.
And he takes him back home. He says, "Should we have a drink?" Because he phoned Laurel.
Yeah.
And this woman comes in and she's like, "Ashley, where have you been? Where have you been?" And it's Laurel.
It's Laurel, but it's a different actress.
But it's a different actress. And then they flipped the perspective.
Yeah.
And then we saw that it was people who did know him and who he trusted.
I watched it.
It was fantastic.
I didn't watch Emmerdale, but I watched it, and I still remember. And the final minute where when he looks at her and smiles, he goes, "You're Laurel, you're my Laurel."
Yeah.
And she's going, "Yes, yes," and he's like cupping her face, and then his face just falls, and his hands move down, and he goes, "Who's Laurel?" And that's how the episode ends.
And it was so sad because it highlighted how devastating that was for Laurel. Yeah. For her husband not to recognise her. And then he was there, and then he was gone. And it was just, when soap does stuff like that, it is so powerful. Because I think that storyline did a lot to educate the British public about dementia and about what it means to be a carer. Yeah. For someone.
And interestingly, at the moment, it's now finished, because sadly she's passed away, the character in Eastenders. We met a little girl, a little 10-year-old girl. I absolutely love her. She's brilliant. A bit gobby. She likes football and that, and she's part of the Taylor clan.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Taylors, the mum Karen, has this on-again, off-again boyfriend who's actually the father of 2 of her kids, and he has another little girl, this little 10-year-old girl, and she's very maternal, but she likes to be gobby. I wondered what's going on with this girl, and it turns out that her mum is seriously ill, and she actually is a full-time carer as a 10-year-old for her mum, and sadly her mum killed herself a week or so ago,
right?
Because Karen found out and everything, and she took them kind of under her wing and wanted to make sure that they were okay, and she begged Karen to look after her little girl, while secretly holding back her tablets.
Right, okay.
And when her daughter went to school, she overdosed.
Right.
Yeah.
But like but that in itself, it's true. There are carers who are children.
And the fact that Eastenders decided to do it. And showing, you can have a 10-year-old girl who full time she's caring for her mum, and she's going to school, and she's doing the football club, and just because at the outset you don't know what's going on at home. And it kind of feels like now, especially in the past, it was kind of more that soap operas were there to give drama to, for an evening. But since probably the late 80s, when the storyline with Martin Fowler with the AIDS and the HIV thing hit.
Not Martin.
Not Mark. Sorry, his little brother is Martin. And when that came in, that was the point where they went, okay, we kind of have a social obligation to do stuff.
And we have a tool to educate.
And we have a tool to educate, and slowly it is built up. And then around, like I said, mid-90s, 2000 was when it went off in the stratosphere, because you've got things like Peggy Mitchell and EastEnders getting breast cancer.
Yeah.
That was huge deal.
Do you know, I always remember Kat Slater, "You ain't my mother."
Oh God, the most iconic.
And yes, I am. But the thing is about that storyline, I think that did a lot to teach people about sexual abuse in families.
With that one, the Slaters turned up, so you had Charlie, the dad of the family, his sister Mo, and Charlie's 4 girls, who were quite
crazy.
But the youngest was Zoe,
who was 16. Yeah.
And various things happened, things went along, and then about a year or 2 after they arrived, suddenly Uncle Charlie appeared.
Yeah.
And Uncle Cat and Uncle Charlie had...
No, not
Charlie.
Not
Charlie.
What was his name? Derek.
Was it
Uncle?
No, it is. It's. I think you're right. Yes, because he fell for Peggy, and she was like, "Oh, I'm going to be Mrs. What you know."
I can't remember his name, but their uncle
Derek.
arrived.
We'll call him Derek.
Yeah.
If that's wrong, then we'll correct it in the description. So he arrived, and Kat had a weird friction with him, but it was never explained.
She kind of went off the rails.
She went off the rails. She started drinking and all this stuff. And then Zoe announced that she was going to be leaving because their uncle was opening a bar in Spain, and he wanted her to go with him to be manage kind of it. At 16 years old.
Yeah, I know. It's just ridiculous.
Kat went mental.
Kat was
absolutely they were at
it.
It was Zoe's birthday party. Yeah. So I remember they were in what was then the Italian restaurant, which is now Beale's.
Yeah.
And she went mental, went, "No, you're not going," and all this lot. And Zoe stormed out, so Kat went after her. And she's going, "You're not going, you're not going." And Zoe turned around like, "You can't control my life, you're not my mother." And then Kat screamed at her, "Yes, I am!" It's the most iconic soap scene in British soap ever.
I loved
and everyone were literally jaws dropped across the nation. Nobody saw that coming.
But the thing is, what was so beautiful about that was that the following episode was essentially a two-hander between those 2 actresses.
Yeah.
And the girl that played Zoe was
Michelle
very young.
Michelle Ryan.
She was
Before
very
she went off
young
to do stuff in America and all
at the time.
Oh yeah, I think she was only about 17.
She probably was, but to have that as a responsibility that you've got to play this girl discovering who she is, and
finding out that her mum at the age of 14 was raped by her uncle.
Yeah.
And there was this whole thing that she wouldn't reveal who the father was when her parents found out, so her parents basically raised the baby as their own. So she's always had this closeness yet complete disconnect from Zoe her entire life.
Yeah, and it was so well acted. It was so well done.
Yeah.
And I think that.
And Kat was always perceived as being the slapper of the family.
Yes, she was. She was the
and I'll
slapper.
never forget that she finished that episode. She lathers makeup, lipstick, and she keeps putting more and more, and she's putting it all around her face and breaking down crying. And she goes out in the street with a bottle of vodka, and there's some boys that walk past her, and they're like, "Oh yeah, love," because clearly she had. And she was like, "What do you want? Some from the slapper of the square or something like that?"
Yeah,
because that's her
identity.
Her identity
in her head. Yeah,
and the way with how it ended with her having overdosing in the park, and
she did.
Zoe screaming for their dad.
Yeah, I think but the thing is with things like certainly domestic violence, sexual abuse, and things like chronic illness, and they are an absolutely brilliant tool to educate the public about them.
Huge storyline that's happened in the past decade was the Whitney storyline in EastEnders.
The grooming storyline.
Because they did a storyline where Bianca, who's been in and out for forever and a day, returned to the square with these 4 kids, and they were homeless. They spent their first night in the square in a bus.
3 of them weren't even hers, were they?
No.
They were like her dead.
Well, no, Whitney is not hers biologically.
Yeah.
That's her stepdaughter from one of her relationships. So that's how they're connected, but they're not technically connected. They spent their first night in a bus shelter.
That's right.
And stuff. But Whitney, she was this girl of about 15, again, quite gobby, big earrings, big jewel,
chavvy.
gold. Kind of chavvy, quite chavvy kind of thing, yeah. But a while after they came, it was announced that Tony was coming back, who was Bianca's boyfriend's fiance, who was in prison. And he's been released from prison. And Whitney, automatically, you could sense there was something off with it. But they didn't explore it. She just kind of was a bit like, oh, okay. So Tony comes home and there's a big party and they're having a good time and everything. And later that night, when everyone's gone to bed, Whitney is in her room and she hears a knock at the door and it's Tony. And they have a bit of a conversation and it ends with him kissing her and it leads on and that's how the episode ends. And it turns out that they were having sex before he went to prison and everything's been going on for a long time, probably since she was about 13, 14, they've been having sex. But he had groomed her to believe that he was in love with her and it was perfectly fine. And when Bianca found out, she went ballistic and she had to physically sit Whitney down and say, what he has done is rape. You were a child. You are still a child. You do not have the ability to say yes to that or whatever.
I love that Bianca immediately recognised that for what it is, because often it happens that women are scared to be alone and they choose to be blind to what is happening in front of them. But Bianca did not do that.
No, she denied it for about a minute.
And then
she went into mum mode. She went into mum mode. And she realised things. And she got Tony arrested and Tony went to prison and ended up killing himself. But it took a huge toll on Whitney.
Well, Emmerdale are currently doing a storyline where a very similar thing has happened, where Jacob, who was 15, just 15, when his dad's new girlfriend Maya turns up. Maya is a teacher at Jacob's school. She is Jacob's teacher. And David and Maya were getting together, and Maya started showing an interest in Jacob. And the grooming process was quite protracted, and it was sort of a drip, drip, drip effect. So it started off like she would compliment him, smile at him. She would do things like if he was sitting in the cafe, she would sit on the arm of the chair with her arm around
like
him,
that.
like that. And it started feeling uncomfortable as an audience member. But Jacob liked it. He liked the attention. He liked the way that she would look at him because he was a child. And eventually she started kissing him and doing the whole, oh, no, we can't be together. She didn't say, we can't be together because you're a child and I'm an adult and this is wrong. She was saying, we can't be together because I'm with your dad. So she was doing the withholding dance, which is seductive. Anyway, so they started kissing, stopped kissing, started kissing, and then he turned 16, and on his 16th birthday, her present to him was a hotel room and her. So because he's 16, she doesn't think she's broken the law, but she has.
Technically she has.
Because she has groomed a child. She is in a position of power as his teacher.
It's not about consent in this from the perspective of how she sees it, that he's 16 now, it's okay. No, it's a different situation.
So this has now all come out, and because she has groomed and brainwashed him so thoroughly, he thinks it's like some kind of Romeo and Juliet scenario. when what it actually is sexual abuse and an abuse of power.
Yeah.
And part of this storyline is the gender swap of an older woman and a younger man.
Yeah.
But not even a man, a boy.
Yeah.
A boy and an older woman.
Yeah, because it tends to be in like dramas, soap operas in the past and such. You always have a thing where it's a female student and a male teacher, and the male teacher has approached it.
Yes.
In the early 2000s, Hollyoaks did a similar storyline, but it was a male student and a female teacher, but it was a male student who instigated it.
But also in that case,
because it was Becca and Justin.
Yeah, he was 17 and she was 21.
Yeah,
so it wasn't.
They had proper feelings for each other.
Yeah.
It was one of those stories, as I said in this program, where at times you were rooting for them, and other times you go, no, this is completely wrong.
But it's still an abuse of power because she is his teacher.
Exactly.
And what they have been doing really very, very well, I think Emmerdale have done an amazing job with this, is they've been trying to break down that idea that because he's a boy, he gets to sow his wild oats, and good for you, Jacob, because you've managed to bag an older woman.
Yeah.
The breakdown of the sexual exploitation of boys as opposed to girls.
Yeah.
They're really trying to kind of, because they have a character called Bear, who's like an older bloke who doesn't really see it as a big deal.
Yeah.
But they have written it so that everybody, as an audience member, you see this as sexual exploitation and not like Becca and Justin, who the difference in their ages was not that much, really.
No.
But like Maya's in her late 30s, and Jacob is 16.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
That's vile.
Yeah.
And you know, when you look at soaps, that they're able to, like I said before, with long form storytelling, is that they're able to use that as a teaching tool.
Yeah,
and the woman that plays Maya has said she's had messages from people who said, I was 16 and I had a relationship with an older person, and like I now look at that and see it for what it is, and that is not good.
Yeah. So like the the Mark Fowler storyline.
Yes, that was the
HIV
good.
storyline back in the 80s when the AIDS epidemic hit. EastEnders decided that they wanted to educate the world, basically, the viewers who watch it. So they decided to give Mark Fowler HIV, which he got from his first wife.
Yes.
He married her, and then she died later that day.
Yes.
She was dying of AIDS, and he contracted it through consensual sex.
Yeah.
And he was a straight man.
He was.
In the late 80s with HIV.
Yeah.
And the way in which people react to it was phenomenal. And the charity that they work with, they were saying on this program that they said, we will help you with this as long as you make sure that he doesn't die within the next 10 years, at least 10 years. Yeah. Because it's a long process.
Yeah.
And so they did things like when Mark told his parents, his father was thinking, well, I can get it from touching the same glass as you, and knife and forks and stuff like that. And he was trying, and him explaining to his dad, and everyone's going to think that you're gay because
that
you
was
have
incredible.
HIV. And he's like, well, why?
Yeah,
it's this is not. I didn't get this because I had sex with a man. It was a massive deal.
I think if they had used a gay character, I don't think it would have had the same impact, because HIV and AIDS was seen as a gay disease.
Yes, yeah.
Which it's not.
It's not
and you know, they were showing like the public health adverts.
Yeah.
They are fucking terrifying.
They are.
Like the whatever the government thought they were doing to educate the public, they were creating fear in the public.
They were.
With the tabloid journalism of it all, it was so irresponsible.
So what they did was that in order to get an education moment, in a sense, they had Mark go to the pub with his family, and Peggy, who was the pub owner, she went crazy and told him to get out. And she said, "I know what you've got." And she announced to the entire pub
she did.
that
She
he
outed
had
him, essentially.
that she said, "You've got AIDS," and
Yeah.
everyone was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
And he went, "No, I don't. I have HIV. It's different." And he explains, "You're not going to get it from touching the same glass as me, by sitting on the same toilet as me,
Yeah.
anything like that. It's just a disease that I have, and I have to live with it. And I didn't get it from being gay or anything like that. I slept with a woman who was my wife." That's it.
Yeah.
And those 5 minutes completely changed EastEnders and the way in which they approach these kind of social stories, and I think possibly quite a few soaps as well.
Yeah, because
it was one of the first.
I think it was one of the first that chose to educate as well as entertain, because you had things like domestic violence from Brookside, which ended in Mandy Jordache murdering her husband
and led to the infamous body under the patio.
Patio. You had. Yeah, so you had those discussions about the provocation of women living with domestic violence.
Yeah.
Is it justified for somebody to kill someone else if they feel that they are going to be killed?
Well, yeah, and then they kind of played with that with the EastEnders with Little Mo, and they covered
Trevor
rape in marriage.
Yes.
And Trevor came at her, and she grabbed the only thing that she had available, which was an iron, and she slammed it twice into his head. And then she stops because he's still, and when he starts to squirm, she then does a final blow to stop him. And it's that final blow which sent her to court and sent her to prison, because the first two, they saw as self-harm, but that final one was intentional.
Yeah.
And that caused her to go to prison.
But
that was so interesting about how the court...
how the court sees it.
And I remember that episode because pretty much the whole episode was from the jury's point of view. And you saw them deliberating, and there was one woman who was going, she goes home terrified every night that even the slightest thing that she does can cause him to trip. And you know that she's basically saying to them, I've been there, I've had this happen, I'm living with it right now, but she can't say the words.
Yeah.
And she gets outvoted.
See, I think that the fact that they did rape in marriage, which by the way was only made illegal in this country in 1993,
and they did it in, I think, probably 2003, I think, something like that.
1993. I was 10 when that was made illegal.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. You think of generations of women who have suffered in marriage.
Yeah.
And there is nothing they can do about it.
Yeah.
It's vile. But the point is with soaps is to show that, like in Emmerdale, Rona was with Piers was his name. Okay. His name was Piers. Right. Or was it Pierce? It's something like
Piers. Let's just call him
Piers, I think his name was. She met him. He was like this like suave, sophisticated businessman. Swept her off her feet.
Yeah.
They were like together and married within 6 months of meeting. He raped her on their wedding day.
Yeah.
She previously had been married to Paddy, and Paddy, that's right, her baby, their baby Leo, is Marlon's baby, because she had a one-night stand with Marlon and got pregnant. Okay. And then she married Paddy, and Marlon and Paddy are like best friends.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
so you had
yeah.
these two men who loved Rona, but were not in love with Rona. And Piers was so threatened by their presence in her life.
Yeah.
And he raped her on their wedding day.
Yeah.
And she reported the rape immediately, and he was sent to prison for it. But again, that his idea was, you are my wife, therefore you are my possession, therefore I can do what I want with you.
And soaps have been doing a lot of stuff, especially, which is absolutely fantastic, of male subjects in regards to male rape, male suicide rates. It's that suicide episode with Aidan in Coronation Street was absolutely amazing. And we didn't see him do it.
You didn't see how he did it.
We didn't see his body. No. It was never described how he died.
No.
We just know that he was found by his dad.
And it's about how that devastating thing,
and it
bleeds into everyone
and
else's lives.
It was a stunning sequence at the end of the episode, because you saw him sat in the pub and he's surrounded by everyone and they're all having drinks and all having laughs, and he just slowly zooms into him and you see him that he's not there.
He's not
there in the
his
slightest.
Depression has got so bad, and he's told no one about it.
He's told no one about it.
No.
And we saw him, his very last scene is him absolutely crying his eyes out. And it was really lovely because the actor who played Aidan, the storyline won 2 awards at the award, and he wasn't actually meant to be there that night. He said in the very first speech, he said, I'm here at the last minute, and I can't believe that I'm winning an award. So thanks for that. You know, male rape in Hollyoaks. Yeah, the fact that it's and Coronation Street, and so the fact that there's more things being discussed, things that are breaking down barriers and being less of a taboo.
Emmerdale with Aaron, that it was a historic rape case.
Oh yes, they did. It was his father when he was
raped
a little boy,
him when he was 8.
Yeah.
And that was so. Danny Miller is such a great actor because they told him about this storyline, and he said it himself. It clarified why Aaron struggled so much with coming out, why he was so angry as a teenager. It made sense for Aaron's character and the journey that he had been on. And you know, speaking of Aaron as a gay man who now lives in this village with his husband, and that progression showing LGBT people through soaps, the progression even in the time that I've been watching since I was a teenager has been phenomenal.
EastEnders did a story about 10 years ago where there was a love story between 2 men. One of them was a married Muslim.
Yes.
And one was a Christian.
Saeed and Christian. Literally.
Christian the Christian. Yeah, and they fell in love.
They did.
And they got together. And it's started in this program, they were saying the cast had police security to protect them from people. Because the community was going to be in uproar. And there was uproar, but it wasn't to that severity. Because that thing is that we welcome these characters into our home, and people do get to the point where they believe that they are real.
Yeah, they do.
And then to see basically that being presented, and it was saying how it got so many complaints because an episode began with Saeed reading the Quran, and he was kind of frustrated because he couldn't find something would explain what's going on, so he shut the book and then just put it on the side, and because of that was seen that he was disrespecting the Quran. And people were in uproar for that one scene. And it was just a silent moment with one guy in a room with a book. You know, out of a storyline that spanned months and months and months.
But like, certainly the presence and the stories of LGBT people are definitely coming. I mean, like, Rob Ron are the couple of Emmerdale. You know, Robert is bisexual, Aaron is gay, Liv is asexual. They had, I mean, going back in the day, do you remember Zoe Tate? She was gay. She was one of the few.
The lesbian vet.
The lesbian vet.
That was her tag. She was just literally called the lesbian vet.
She
had a lot of girlfriends.
She had a lot of lovers.
She went through quite a few girlfriends.
Charity's bisexual. She's getting married to Vanessa. You know, and we have Matty, who's transgender, who was Moira's.
And
Moira's
she's not in it now, but we had
Hayley
in Coronation Street, who basically was there to begin with as a joke. And then she went, well, can we do something with this character? How about make her transgender? And the writers went, and they went for it. So it is that thing, though, when you look back at the storylines from the past, even though they broke down barriers, they broke down walls, you can look back and go a bit, that's not...
But I think...
Like, for example, when Hayley tells Roy that she's transgender, she refers to herself as a transsexual. Which now is a word we would not use.
We don't use that.
But it was used at that time. But again, in this programme, it was absolutely fascinating seeing newspaper headlines and the language that they used. It was vile.
It was disgusting.
That you would never in a million years would a newspaper produce those words.
But now,
like it's looking back, it's the past.
With Matty in Emmerdale, and there's a transgender character in Hollyoaks. His name I can't remember. She was on that programme talking about Hayley.
Yeah, because she was a researcher on Coronation Street and she brought her own experiences to the character of Hayley.
But so with Matty, because there, oh god, I can't remember her old name. Matty's old name before he became Matty.
Yeah.
But Hannah,
right.
Matty was Hannah Barton. And this man broke into the farm, and Kane found him and was like, why are you here? And Matty said, I don't mean you any harm, Kane. How do you know me?
Yeah.
How do you know who I am?
Yeah.
And Moira came in, and you realised that Matty used to be Hannah.
Yeah.
And that got talking. Moira really struggled.
Yeah.
With getting her head around the fact that Matty was now Matty.
Yeah.
And the way that they grew that relationship was so beautiful because Moira had lost 2 of her children, and she was on the verge of rejecting a 3rd child.
Yeah. And
it was Kane who was said to her, Matty is your son.
Yeah.
He's your baby.
Yeah.
And so that kind of brought her round. And now, like, we love Matty. He's beautiful. He's one of the best characters in it. But he is played by a trans actor.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful.
They had Stacey in EastEnders, she met what she was told she had a half-sister.
Yes.
And it turned out it was a half-brother.
Yes.
And, he was transgender.
He was also a trans
and the actor was transgender as well.
Yeah. So is he still in it? I don't think
no,
he is he?
No, because he's now doing theatre. He's gone off to do loads of theatre, and he does public speaking and stuff about his experience and that. It was a massive deal for EastEnders for him to be cast.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like sometimes soaps, they do stories to sensationalise, but then they also have like a moral obligation to tell these stories, and when they do it fantastically.
And to
but they can do it
categorically
wrong.
Different groups of people. And I love the fact that when they have these, particularly these days, when they have a hard-hitting storyline, they do their research.
Oh, yeah.
They ask, like with the Maya Jacobs storyline, they consulted with Bernardo's. They spoke to survivors of this kind of sexual abuse.
And they get the actors involved in that research as well.
Yes,
they take them to the charities. They have them meet people who've been through it. So it's not just the crew, and as it were, the writers who know, the actors know as well. So they can take on certain feelings, certain thoughts and that, and then play that through. And there was in that program, they were talking about the storyline where John Paul was raped by one of his male students. How a guy who consulted for them said, I watched it and it was like he had climbed inside my head, and it was absolutely astonishing. The fact that he was able to do that with just a look, that was phenomenal.
But characters like John Paul and Aaron, and because John Paul is also gay.
Yes, he is.
And there's
and he was a teacher who had a troublesome student, and he was trying to get him round basically, and it caused an argument, and he did verbally kind of lash out in a sense by calling him a horrible little thing, but then the student turned around and smashed him over the head with a bust of Shakespeare or something, and then whilst he was there on the ground he raped him.
But where I was going with that John Paul thing is, back in the day, well before that happened, John Paul was one half of my favourite soap couple.
He was!
John Paul and Craig.
You were obsessed
I
with
was
those
obsessed.
two. My God.
I was obsessed with them. McDean was everything, right? The reveal episode of their affair was fantastic. It was one of the best episodes of television ever. I love Rob, Ron, and equally, I love Sharon and Dennis were hot.
Yeah.
In EastEnders,
They were.
These like long form stories of couples and love and family. They're so valuable.
Yeah.
And I love them. Like Nana used to say, 30 years she was watching Coronation Street. She never missed an episode.
No, never.
Because to her, they were so important.
They were friends.
They were.
Their family.
Yes.
And that's where kind of you do have people who really believe that these people are real, and thus is why some storylines can cause people to get violent, and actors have had experiences of being yelled at or attacked. Because do you remember if from that oh no, of course I remember the Psycho Gail's husband,
Richard Hillman.
He actually got attacked going to a music festival. I remember. It was in the papers that he went to a music festival.
Yeah.
Whilst in the middle of his massive murderous spree storyline, and he was assaulted at a music festival. And his response: "Well, I've done my job right, haven't I?" Because he knew it wasn't an intentional him as a person. It was his character, and if he is getting this kind of reaction, he's done it right. And kind of like in the Archers with the coercive control storyline, how the actors, the actor, who I don't know his name, who was doing this horrible stuff to the wonderful Helen, he had the same reaction, and he said the same thing. If I'm causing that much of a stir, I'm doing my job right, and I'm helping people.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? It's to help them to recognise the signs of that kind of horror. Yeah, really. But so, bless them. That's why we love soaps.
We love soaps. But Neighbours is the one that kind of goes kind of a bit crazy every time. They like to play with amnesia. They're playing with amnesia again. The whole Susan slipped on a load of milk and that means she's got amnesia was just silly.
They do get silly.
And that episode that showed where it was completely from the perspective of Dog's Dream.
That was weird.
Back in the 80s, I mean, what was that? But yeah, I mean, we've had other soaps that have come and gone, like Brookside, which ended in 2003.
I loved Brookside.
I loved Brookside
back in the day. Brookside was... crazy.
Do you remember Jimmy Corkill, who had mental issues and he had a psychotic episode while teaching a class?
He did.
And he locks them in the classroom and he thought that people were trying to invade to get them or something.
Yeah.
He had a complete... So they looked at mental health and the first lesbian kiss before Watershed.
That's right.
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
These barriers that were broken down and you look back at it, no wonder people were scared to come out.
Like the first gay kiss in soap, UK British soap, was on EastEnders, and it's one guy kissing another guy's forehead,
and it was nothing.
Nothing, and that will cause major controversy,
which is ridiculous.
I know,
isn't it?
But it's back then versus
but
now.
that's the difference. That
our society has shifted.
Yeah, in 30 years, how it's changed and shifted, and like back in 2007, Hollyoaks was showing. 2 men kissing on a bed at 6:30 at night. Yeah, and Emmerdale doesn't do that now at 7 o'clock.
Like I said, I think it's because even though they do hard-hitting stuff, it is still Yorkshire Fields, Yorkshire Dales, kind of thing. It's
the audience is more conservative.
They're totally happy knowing that probably happens, but they don't necessarily see it.
Yeah, whereas I want to see it.
Well, it is what it is.
But anyway, that's why we love soaps.
But we love soaps.
We do.
We love soaps. So thank you for people who make them.
Yes, thank you.
We didn't talk about American soaps because, American soaps are very different.
They're mad.
They're quite crazy. Yeah, you loved Sunset Beach when it
Sunset Beach was a delicacy. And I also love The Bold and the Beautiful, but we never
everything's a bit over the top.
You leave logic at the door.
Yeah.
But American soaps is weird because they're more aspirational.
Yeah.
Whereas British soaps are much more reflective of real British life.
Real life. This is why, welcoming them into our homes of an evening, we feel comfortable, we feel settled.
Because we see ourselves in them. Yeah. Which is why we get so emotionally invested.
Yeah, and I like Neighbours as well. I like going to Australia and seeing Toadie and all that from back in the day.
I can't believe he's still there.
But I recently tried to watch Home and Away and I couldn't do it because Home and Away is kind of gone into the sensationalized, like the American soaps, and it just kind of feels like they're forcing it. Like it's almost like somebody doing a caricature of what soaps would be, like the dramatic stares and all that lot, and it's like, no, I'm going to go to Neighbours. They're much more natural there.
The acting talent, though, amongst the pool of British soap actors is incredible.
And it's one of the toughest jobs you can have as an actor, because you are there 16, 17 hours a day, every day.
I've also heard that you get your lines, if the writers decide to change something, you've got 2 hours to learn your lines. You stand there, you make me believe it. I have heard that soap actors are seen as some of the most professional in the business, because the turnaround is so fast.
And you can totally understand it. But it is interesting because you can tell with, obviously, if an actress gets pregnant and them trying to cover it up, and they haven't tried to cover it up with Stacey, because Lucy Turner's pregnant at the moment. She's I think she's 7 months now.
Right.
Well, at least in real life, not in the soap. But she wears like big floppy shirts, but it's obvious that she's got a bump.
Yeah.
And people have actually speculating that Stacey as a storyline is secretly pregnant, and the amount of times that they had to go, no, Lucy Turner's pregnant. Lacey Turner is actually pregnant in real life. It's like, do they have to do it every week? Just come on.
And then do you remember Michelle Collins back in the 80s? The handbags.
Oh,
got bigger and bigger by the week. As her bump got bigger,
but they have to get round that. So, a character, because like at the minute, Danny Dye has just come back in, because he and his wife Linda went to their daughter's wedding. Nancy got married in.
Did she?
Yeah, she got married in New Zealand to, oh God, what was his name? Masood's.
Did she marry him?
Yeah, she married him.
Oh.
They live in like New Zealand, but they've been travelling around. And Linda came back for the business, but Mick decided he wanted to have a longer holiday in New Zealand, bloody man. So he was away for an extra few weeks.
Right.
So that accommodated for that. But they do things like, they did one thing for Danny Dye, because he actually got exhaustion. He was signed off for a while. So they did a thing where Nancy suddenly got into a car crash, so he flew out to be with her.
Right.
So that way, that could accommodate for him being away. Yeah. So at the moment, I think because Lacey Turner being pregnant, they're going to have to send her away for a while, and her mum in the show has got cancer at the moment. So I wonder if they're going to do a thing where they're going to take her away to get treatment. Well, she's having treatment, but I wonder if it's going to be something like that. That they're just going to say there's another treatment option available up further up the country. Mm-hmm. We'll go away for a bit. Yeah. But sometimes they do some horrible things, like the woman who played Linda, she was away on maternity leave for a year, and she came back, and it turned out that she'd secretly had cancer for a year while she was away, and it was like, did you really need to do that?
Silly.
That was stupid. So sometimes, soaps can get it wrong for having to fill gaps where people are away because they're on holiday and all that lot. But for big storylines where they dedicate time to it, they do it right. Apart from that cop death
most of the time, they get it right.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's why we love soaps.
Yeah, that's why we love soaps. And thank you to everyone who makes soaps, and carry on making soaps, and we'll carry on watching them. So,
I'm going home.
You are. I'll just say bye to Laura.
I won't be gone that long this time.
Yay! Yeah, no, not another 6-month gap.
No, but I reckon I'm going to be done with the rest of the Cassandra Clare books by September. I reckon.
Cool. Well, so we'll see how we go. And we'll be back with more videos as soon as we can then.
All right then. Bye.